I hate football. I hate video games. I don't want to goon whatever. I want to be like, hello, Jeffree Star, paint my nails, do my face.
Send 2-3 years to Dagestan and forget.
From Disney and Pixar.
He's a little twink!
Well, he's your son.
This Christmas, I know what I have to do.
Where are you taking me?
Oh, he's gonna go! Pressure the hips quick! Right!
Lower, chest.
Big way! Faster! Full, all the way up! Don't you quit!
Breathe, son.
Eyes on the beat!
The mountain knows you're ready.
Dagestan.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.
My God, I didn't even fuck around, so.
Why am I finding out?
Oh, trust the process. God's writing a story. What kind of stupid ass and fucking dumbass story is this, huh? Where all I gotta do is survive for my whole fucking story. Is there a good time or all of it is fucking bad? What the fuck?
What? Wait, Bitcoin's pumping? Oh my God! First my lungs get liquidated from this massive dump, then I borrow money from my mom to short at 80K because I thought we were gonna retest the previous cycle's all-time highs. I thought quantum computing was gonna take out Bitcoin. I thought JP Morgan was bearish on MicroStrategy. I thought Michael Saylor was insolvent. I thought dead bodies from the market makers were gonna rise to the surface. Now Bitcoin's at 88K and I'm sidelined? I gotta get a job! I gotta call my girlfriend back. I gotta call my boss at McDonald's to get a new job. This is such bullshit! I hate crypto so much!
Buy the dip, right guys? Buy the dip! Buy it! Cause it keeps fucking dipping!
Now, dude, the $20 hit, man. That was all my money. Holy fuck! Stop yelling at me. Daddy's got the fucking sugar now.
Damn, Ron, come on! What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow! There is no tomorrow!
Broski, the market is so red, I thought my MacBook was bleeding.
This is the end, cuz. Yesterday I was a millionaire, today I'm a slumdog. This is not a dip, this is a black hole.
Imbeciles,
I'm selling everything, I'm
they have no idea. This is not a black hole, this is the beginning of a big bang.
Why is Broski not panicking with us? Yeah, why is he so unfazed? Have you checked your wallet, cuz?
The crypto is down 85%.
Allow him, Broski, he's still in denial.
Is it down by 85%? Or is it 85% off?
Oh shit. No, gang, not the hustler mindset.
Not the hustler mindset.
Bro said it's not a crash, it's a discount. Circumstances, but you can change your mentality.
Remember, brothers, the market sends his toughest battles to his most financially literate soldiers. When the Nasdaq falls, will you give up? Or remember that no amount of setbacks defeat a qualified mind? You see a dip and start to sell, but I remember that sudden emotions lack logic. Down isn't permanent. So I invest more into the S&P because I was born to struggle and persist.
Nah, man, how does he do this? This guy knows something. Broski, was you in the board meeting with Donald Trump?
So tell me, brothers, when the crops go dry, will you sell your land or sow more seeds, knowing that the harvest will always return?
He's really got that hustler mindset. Bro's got that JP Morgan mentality. That's that quarter zip discipline, cuz. Yeah, gang. Rare few individuals that make it out, cuz. This guy's one of them.
Money when you buy. You don't make money when you sell. Every time the world goes tits up and everything goes fucked up, I smile, because days like today are days I've made money. I'm actually cash poor. First time in my life I'm poor. I have like 100 grand for the weekend. That's it. But it's fine, because I know in the future, Jah will bless me, and I might have to buy another 812 super fast. Anyway, point is, if you're watching this, and you have any kind of money, don't be a bitch. Scared money doesn't make money. Invest it. The word of the day is cash. Every day. Cream. Cash rules everything around me. I'm flexing. It's Friday. In the Lambo. About to go spend $1,000 on dinner. Spend $20,000 in the club. Fuck 3 bitches. And I'll wake up tomorrow richer than I woke up today.
It was a bad year because look, I'm only 14. Look what it did to me.
14 years old?
Yeah, 14 years old. And look what I look like. For crying out.
We're gonna sit here talking all night and we're gonna go fucking gamble. Let's fucking go.
Money isn't real. None of this is real.
This is just...
It's free. It's free.
What do you mean free?
Free money. Lose it all.
Lose it all.
Andrew, I know you said money isn't real, but I am getting fucked.
Fuck yeah, buy, sell, buy, sell.
What are you guys doing?
Shut up, Ugg, we're fucking crypto gurus.
You're literally buying coins because the names make you laugh.
Okay, now type in shit, piss, fart, poopy, but ass coin, see what comes up. Yeah, okay, I just bought it.
You guys are fucking idiots.
Let's fucking go, we made 100K!
What?
Don't gamble. Oh yeah, don't gamble money that you can. Man. I mean, unless it's a lock. There's no such thing as a lock. That's the thing. Unless it's a lock. If it's a lock, oh my God, it's a little different.
Nobody knows about that fucking degenerate life when you're fucking down 40,000 and you battle the fuck back. You say, you know what? I'm a fucking strong, independent man. And you're not gonna tell me I should go to bed. I'm gonna battle the fuck back. And I'm gonna fucking get my money back. And guess what? I got my motherfucking money back. That's right.
Asset. Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best. Okay. But take all your money, buy Bitcoin, then take all your time, figure out how to borrow more money to buy more Bitcoin, then take all your time and figure out what you can sell to buy Bitcoin. And if you absolutely love the thing that you don't want to sell it, go mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin with it. And if you've got a business that you love because your family works for the business that's in your family for 37 years and you can't bear to sell it, mortgage it, finance it, and convert the proceeds into the hardest money on earth.
What is going on, you guys? It is Dollar Cost Crypto here with FOMC reaction breakdown. The Fed cut rates, 25 basis points. No surprise there. There was actually some pretty big debate on actually cutting more than that. You know, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, man. The market is doing it's basically where it's at. We had like a small little plummet down. I think we were holding like $92,000 Bitcoin. We're at 89,000 right now. But doesn't make a whole lot of sense for what happened. It was actually a pretty bullish meeting, actually. Quantitative easing has officially started. A lot of people said, hey, there's no quantitative easing. It's not going to happen until Q2 of next year. Fuck your bull market. It's happening in 2 days. Shit, actually a day and some change. Cycle's over, bro. This is why you permablast, bro. Only these little beta bucks, these little beta cucks, cycle their cycle, dog. You keep blasting testosterone. You keep blasting trend, you guys. I mean,
anytime you have a question about anything in your life, Trendblown is the answer. You know, am I going to go on a cut? Trendblown. Am I going to go on a blast? Trendblown. Did I start a new job? Trendblown. Am I getting married? Trendblown. Am I getting divorced? Trendblown. Is my wife going into labor? Trendblown. Do I need to stay up all night and take care of my kid because my wife had a C-section? Trendblown. My dog died. Trendblown. What happened? I bought a new car. I'm nervous over the payment. Trendblown. I'm thinking about buying a new car. I don't know which car to buy. I'm concerned that the salesman might try to hustle me. Trendblown. Basically, any situation in life that you could possibly conceive of, Trendblown is the answer. So what did I turn to in my deepest, darkest days? Trendblown. That's what I did. I turned to Trendblown. When I was not being able to get more than 7 hours of sleep, when I was showing up to work a half-dead zombie, when I was coming home at night feeling cracked out and miserable and tired and not wanting to interact with my children and not wanting to do anything with my wife and just wanting to go to bed immediately after dinner, what did I do to resurrect myself from the coffin, from the grave? How did I rise again? Trendblown is the answer. Trendblown will bring you back from anything.
and that is the truth, man. They've just started injecting Trendblown into the economy. We are getting $40 billion in 2 days on the 12th. Interesting. Mostly in completely in T-bills, but this meeting, I actually believe it. So obviously 50 basis point would have been way better. I had some people arguing with me in some other chats and shit and on Twitter that like, yo, dog, they shouldn't even cut it all. Very bad. Cam? Frozen? Really? Let me see. Are you guys actually serious? What the fuck? Really? Takes a while for circulations. You know, of course, Money Gang. Type 1 in the chat if you can see me. Okay, cool. Them boys sent out an EMP, bro. I'm telling you, man, I'm on Starlink right now, dog. So them boys attacking Elon Musk. Well, sort of. I guess, you know, hey, probably. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. Not anymore. Kind of laggy, really. That is fucking straight. I'm literally running on. Interesting. Just a bit laggy. That is very strange. Well, anyways, I had to Starlink. Is it really kind of laggy? That's fucking crazy. You Gucci now. Okay. But yeah, man. Soon enough, I'll be out of baby mama's house, and I'll be back in the studio very soon, basically. But yeah, I'm actually been a little under the weather. Actually, it looks like a 2015 DCC stream. Potato 380p. Oh, that's funny. But what was I gonna say? So yeah, dude, today I had to pump myself with all kinds of shit on caffeine, nicotine, fucking everything under the sun, man. Fuck, man, I was jacked, dog. I was jacked up today. I'm a little under the weather, man. I almost didn't do the stream today, but I said, fuck it, we ball, dog. Fuck it, we ball. 380p. You know, I could actually turn it to 3. I'm not even joking. I can go to, well, I think it's 340 or whatever the fuck it's called. But I actually could turn the quality of that down. It's kind of hilarious. That actually would be kind of funny. Do not consume Vaporub. Yeah, just vaporize it, right? The audio is perfect. I guess that's the most important thing. You know, we're still look smaxing over here. You know, study talking about trend and going to 140. Yeah, appreciate. No, for sure. Yeah, dude. I fucking woke up like I got hit by a fucking truck today, and it didn't help. My son was not very helpful this morning, if I do say so myself. But that's okay. But let's take a quick look at the market before we get into today's topic, man. We are, I cannot wait. We do these every few months, these Fed breakdowns. We've got Bitcoin at, 89,000. Ethereum's actually gained a little bit of relative strength over Bitcoin. There's starting to be there is purchases of Ethereum still happening right now. It is essentially, the Fasuka, the Fasuksha upgrade. But basically, it's really cheap to transact on Ethereum, and they've made it so partly thanks to Sonic or Andre Tech. Dude, I really at this point, bro, like you really got to take founders' Twitters away and shit like that. You don't need handlers, but some of these guys in crypto Twitter, bro, they are special ed and they do have autism, and they do need a handler. Basically. Got you. The Fasuka upgrade, yeah. Kind of defeats the purpose of pulse chain. I mean, in a way, yeah. I mean, there's still relative things in terms of L1s, but like it defeats the purpose of an L2 unless you are literally a very large entity. As an example, like you're a PayPal or you're a Circle or you got to be some outside entity that already has a huge customer base, and you're using that to have complete control, but you're still basically finishing up the route through Ethereum. Basically, we pivot to a privacy chain. I mean, hey, it could happen. Now you frozen, dog? Are you fucking dude? It does not look frozen on my side at all. I mean, I could do a little check. Rip Sonic. We'll rip almost every other chain, dog. Yeah, wow, really? Jesus Christ. Okay, let me see what's happening here. Oof. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can fix this on my side.
You buy this for $39.99, guess what, folks? You take the L away. You put a W there, baby. You're a winner, man. You're the real deal. You're picking up chicks. Let me tell you something. You buy this set at $39.99, baby, you're the cock of the walk, man. You walk into the bar and you just find the hottest chick and you go, you, me. Guess what? She says, why would I go out with you? Because I bought the deal on Wild West Deals for $39.99, that's why. She says, can I go home with you? That's how simple it is. That's how it works. That's what this set brings to the table. Because you know what she sees? She sees a man who knows what he wants. She sees a man who says, good deals don't get by me, baby. I move. I act quick. I act now. I go to wildwestdeals.com. Boom. That's why you're hanging with chicks all night long. That's why you got guys like Michael Jordan calling you, wanting to hang out with you, baby. Because you bought it for $39.99.
Let's see here. Let me know if it's that helped improve it at all. If not, I can go old school like this. Masad has entered the chat. That's funny. It's the Matrix attacking. I wouldn't be surprised, dogs. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, something that's interesting happened. There was actually a huge amount of because it's actually extremely crisp. I've got no lag on my side at all. It could be YouTube a little bit because Rumble and Kick both had huge outages that happened over the last weekend and shit. It's pretty insane. Unfrozen, but face cam quality, yeah. Yeah, zero. It seems to be like maybe it's affecting people in different parts of the country or something. That's very strange. Well, anyway, you guys hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll see if I can share a video here and then do a live reaction to the Jerome Powell Fed meeting and stuff like that, man. Charlie's stream earlier froze as well. Maybe it's YouTube, man. Holy shit. It's almost time, DCC. I mean, ProveX is here almost, yeah. I'd say the token, it seems like the token's going to launch maybe a couple days after it closes, so sometime in early January. Rackham's going to launch a launch pad thinking it's correlated. Yeah, who knows? You need a blue check mark. Brother, I have blue check marks everywhere, dude. Yeah, it's probably YouTube right now. There's no way, dude. I'm literally like lightning fast speed. I'm like literally download a whole movie right now. But let me know if you can see this. It's probably YouTube fucking lagging out, probably. So we're gonna listen to a little bit of Jerome Powell right here, see, and then let me know how the audio sounds and stuff. Type one in the chat if you can hear them.
Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people.
Okay.
Although important federal government.
So this is actually there's a lot of sauce given out today if you just listen to it. So it's pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting meeting. The last meeting was not very exciting at all. Even the in-between stuff was not exciting at all. So this one, there's some shit cooking right now.
Government data for the past couple of months have yet to be released. Available public and private sector data suggests that the outlook for employment and inflation has not changed as much since our meeting in October. Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated.
By gradually cooling, he means just utterly getting wrecked, basically. The job market is not good right now. People's savings are cooked. Company savings are cooked. Inflation's starting to get out of control again. Not too crazily, but basically we're suffering for the inflation. Once the prices go up, they don't go back down for the most part, except for a couple of specific things with the energy for the most part. But once the price of the McChicken nuggets go up, they don't go back down typically. The dollar menu is dead, and things just keep getting more and more expensive. And it's getting to the point now where, like, for the average person, there's like, why would you Uber Eats unless you're just trying to get food home to a shorty and shit like that when you're hanging out with somebody? I don't know. I think a lot of Zoomers, a lot of people are spending are wasting a lot of their money fucking Uber eating and shit, like getting Uber Eats or fucking whatever the food apps they have right now, instead of like physically going to a place, basically. But
in support of our goals, in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 0.25 percentage point. As a separate matter, we also decided to initiate purchases of shorter-term Treasury securities solely for the purpose of maintaining an ample supply of reserves over time, thus supporting effective control of our policy rate.
So they've just said right there, quantitative easing. They're literally dressing it up that they're not doing quantitative easing. They're doing quantitative easing, and as I play the video longer, like more and shit, there's gonna be it's the reason they're giving for quantitative easing is one of the biggest bullshit things I've ever heard. It's such a grift what's happening right now, but hey, it will pump assets. So
I will have more to say about monetary policy and its implementation after briefly reviewing economic developments. Although some key government data have yet to be released, available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. Consumer spending appears to have remained solid, and business fixed investment has continued to expand. In contrast,
well, I might have to disagree with Charlie here because it absolutely is QE. It is a version of Q. It is quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is essentially just pumping the market full of money, basically. Now there is different types of QE. Basically, there's QE where they're straight up where they're buying money. They're not just pumping money into treasury bills. They're actually buying mortgage-backed securities, and they're pumping money into other markets. They're buying bonds effectively of all types of all types of asset classes within the bond market, as well as like mortgage-backed securities, which help basically lower or take pressure off fucking defaults, basically. But it's QE undercover, absolutely. And Art's 100% right. The same people that have money for Uber Eats complain they can't afford groceries. Yeah. Repo liquidity is also a different type of QE as well. It is QE, except that repo liquidity is actually more of that is more of a sideways sort of liquidity thing right there. It's more I would like what they're saying. This is more like overnight repo market stuff, where like the actual buying of T-bills off the open market is actually QE, just undercover. So like repo market does have an effect to the market, but it takes longer for that to hit. Buying treasuries directly from the market has a much more direct effect, but it still takes about a month or so or a few weeks for it to actually hit the market, basically. All right, still cool with Charlie? No, absolutely. I hate that guy. So let's keep. You fuckers, bro.
Activity in the housing sector remains weak. The temporary shutdown of the federal government has likely weighed on economic activity in the current quarter, but these effects should be mostly offset by higher growth next quarter, reflecting the reopening. In our summary of economic projections, the median participant projects that real GDP will rise 1.7% this year and 2.3% next year, somewhat stronger than projected in September. In the labor market, although official employment data for October and November are delayed, available evidence suggests that both layoffs and hiring remain low, and that both households' perceptions of job availability and firms' perceptions of hiring difficulty continue to decline.
So right there, perception, right? So if I've been able to teach you guys anything over the years about money, like money, short term, perception is everything. It's the emperor has no clothes. So in the short term, perception or what people think is happening is what's happening. Then later, that's where fundamentals kick in, and then the fundamentals truly will actually move the market in the direction it should be going. But if everyone says like, yo, like things are bad, so because people think and say things are bad, then spending goes down. He did say quarter. He is saying that basically, yes, we're gonna have a stronger 2026, 7 and 8. He did, but based off of basically the GDP is growing faster, but jobs aren't improving, but corporate profits are increasing. So we're essentially we are becoming more efficient at we're basically getting better at profitability, but there isn't as many jobs for people, which is like part of it. Like there's a bit of a copium here that like you guys have all seen this chart. There's a chart of basically when OpenAI was created, and then basically jobs started going down from there. But it's way too close to what's happened during COVID as well. Like AI is directly affecting certain types of industries. Like I would say like YouTube clippers, like it's more like online sort of work for the most part. So like if you're kind of in the lower end of stuff, or there's people that are actually like really great managers, make great videos, and if you're more on the creative side or you're managing bigger accounts, you're more of like a higher tier guy. It's mostly affected the lower tier guys where it's commoditized and more, where you have a lot more talented guys who can handle doing like 100 YouTube accounts. Those guys are winning because their costs have gone down and they can fire people basically. But it's hurt people, I would say, more in like art industries or like anything like creating stuff or maybe like videography or something like that. But then the most talented people create these jobs, but that's not enough to cause all these offsets right here. It will have an effect. Like I'm not saying AI doesn't have an effect on the job market, but I really truly believe the AI is going to have a real effect in about 4 or 5 years from now, basically. Exactly. Or like the last thing you want is people feeling like they have no hope for too long. It's hard for masses to reverse their behavior and be exactly. So this is why it's so negative. That's why I don't think anybody in the world can disagrees with this other than like retarded fucking communists from China. But like the one-child policy was a tremendously fucking stupid policy. But once you get into people's head, having a bunch of kids is bad. Now China has a demographic issue, and their population is going off a fucking cliff. They literally don't have enough young people to work in the factories over time. This was a very bad thing. So now it's got into people's head that having kids is bad. Having kids is bad. And then now the government's saying, no, having kids is good. Having kids is good. And they're like, bad. Kids are bad, too expensive, bad. And they're now in trouble. So the government getting involved in your life is bad. They need to be out of your life. Now, there is certain things government's good for. You need a military. It's good, it's a good place to kind of get some larger scale projects together and stuff like that. But the more the government interferes in your daily life, the more it gets in the way of the free market and how the free market should work. But there is a place for government. Like this whole shit of like, yeah, man, I'm an anarchist, man. There's no need. Fuck the free government, man. We should just like all just like get together and shit and live in communes, man. Like faggots. Stupids. They don't know how people are. Dumb. This is like truly not understanding human behavior, man. There's pieces of shit and there's assholes and there's people taking advantage of the systems and stuff. Like you do need a government, but what's up, Bunkai? But it's like you need it there. So AI is going to create a lot of jobs, and it is creating. It's actually uplifting a lot of people in third world countries and very smart people. And it's basically the smart people or very creative people are going to use AI and increase their income. And people who don't know what's going on are just going to get taken out. Blue collar, for the most part, is going to be unaffected. It's mostly affecting white collar. But the problem is that the governments in Europe, good chunks of Asia, and the United States and the Americas spent a lot of time trying to get people to go to college for white collar jobs. And now all those jobs are going away for the most part, not all of them, but it's very easy to get rid of those jobs versus like physical jobs like manufacturing, plumbing, electricity, things to do in the physical world. There's an undersupply, so it's basically they're protected. And I would actually say that blue collar jobs, for the most part, depending on the trade, their income is actually going to go up. UBI is probably going to happen at some point in time. I don't want it to happen, but it is going to happen because the governments are going to use UBI, which is universal basic income, to basically corral people in and get more government power over the people, because a lot of people are not going to have work because their skills are fucking useless for the most part. And the economy is going to go towards like there's two sides. There's the business side. There's business and skills, right? Then there's I would call it the cloud economy, which is you have a presence. People watch you. If people watch you, you have demand. If you have demand, and this is going back to the beginning of the conversation about belief. If people believe or people perceive you as valuable, you are valuable. You are valuable, right? So the world is becoming much more competitive. It's becoming more like, I would say, like more hypergamy. Like it's becoming much more competitive in different avenues. So because the business side is going to be consolidated more into like more people, like there's going to be actually more like one person companies, which is actually kind of cool. But overall, there's going to be a big displacement. There's going to be like a new 10% rich class that's going to be added because of AI. And there's going to be a lot of the bottom rung of society that is not going to have that work and is going to be off of UBI. And it's, it's going to take a while for it to course correct itself. Yeah. You combine UBI with CBDCs and oof. Yeah. If you don't know any tech, you will be farmed by the people who do. Exactly. Basically. Now, doesn't mean like it's like if you're an electrician, if you're in the energy, like if you're in the energy sector, you're going to do very well for yourself. You're an electrician, you're a plumber, very hard to get rid of those jobs. If you are a dentist, the dentist side eventually through robotics, but like the thing is people don't trust that shit at all. So that might be sort of a 30-year 40-year guide of like, we're like, back in my day, we used to have, like, we would go to the dentist's office and a real person would actually do the dental work, man, not these robots. I don't know, man. Like, they could kill you, but it's going to be like generation beta or whatever generations after generation beta is going to be like grandpa, they're like, we're going to be the boomers. Like, I'm a millennial. I'm going to be like a boomer, control of all the Bitcoin and all the Ethereum and all the other crypto and all the fart coin, all the Pulse chain and all the Sonic and whatever the fuck that's worth. And we're going to have all the assets, and then, but like, we're going to be the boomers, and it's like, there's going to be this whole class of like, well, the poor boomers are going to be, the poor millennials are going to be forced to use some of the robotic shit that they're afraid to use because they have to. The rich boomers are going to be like, I can pay top dollar to have a real person actually work on my stuff, basically. But I'm getting way into the future a little bit. That's a little out there and stuff like that, but that's probably what's going to happen. It's just like, and I can already see myself already doing that. I'm all right. I don't want a machine to work on my, sure, a girl might be like, I'll get a machine to do my nails, sure. But like, anything that could possibly kill me, because it's like the same thing too. It's like, I don't want a car where the police can turn my car off with the remote control. I don't want a guy who, like, if I'm saying shit the government doesn't like, I don't like that they could, during my surgery, they can tell the machine, oops, there's an accident, and they can kill me. Interesting. But yes, Stan Lee, Tom Lee combining forces. Stan Lee. Jesus Christ, you guys. All right.
Firms' perceptions of hiring difficulty continued to decline. The official report on the labor market for September, the most
that was a good trans dude.
Recent release, showed that the unemployment rate continued to edge up, reaching 4.4%, and that job gains had slowed significantly since earlier in the year. A good part of the slowing likely reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation. The
immigration is hurting the economy a little bit. I think it will have a positive effect over a certain period of time. It will cause people to get paid more, obviously, but it also, on some of these jobs and some of these businesses where, the margins are low, it's going to cause more robotics, basically. So, oof. And, it probably wasn't smart to deport a bunch of people working in the fields because, most U.S. citizens don't want to go work in the fields. It sucks. I don't know if you guys ever worked in the fields, like, you would know. It's like, yikes, dog.
labor demand has clearly softened as well. In this less dynamic and somewhat softer labor market, the downside risks to employment appear to have risen in recent months. In our SEP, the median projection of the unemployment rate is 4.5% at the end of this year and edges down thereafter. Inflation has eased significantly from its highs in mid-2022, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal. Very little data on inflation have been released since our meeting in October. Total PCE prices rose 2.8% over the 12 months ending in September, and excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices also rose 2.8%. These readings are higher than earlier in the year as inflation for goods has picked up, reflecting the effects of tariffs. In contrast, disinflation appears to be continuing for services. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have declined from their peaks earlier in the year, as reflected in both market and survey-based measures. Most measures of longer-term expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. The median projection in the SEP for total PCE inflation is 2.9% this year and 2.4% next year.
So, obviously, you shut off the economy but gave everyone money enough to be able to do stuff, then basically the price of things went up. And they basically doubled or tripled the money supply. and then people weren't working, but they had all the income, and then assets went crazy. So people dumped all their money into assets. But because the global economy had turned, if the global economy wasn't closed off because of COVID, there would have been plenty of supply. This inflation probably would not have gone to the 9% that it peaked out at. I think they averaged this one out, but it did spike up to over 9% inflation at one point. It probably would have stayed maybe 3 to 4% actually. Actual inflation, it would never have spiked this high, but because the supply chain was turned off, there was only certain amounts of toilet paper, certain amounts of things, and the same amount or even more dollars. So more dollars are competing for the same amount of assets. So the inflation went up. Now, obviously, some of these prices went back down. I mean, I remember during this time, a sriracha bottle, right, would cost about $3. People were paying $100 for a bottle of sriracha. Now, obviously, there was this whole thing too. There was I think there was this hurricane or something during the time, and the crop got all fucked up. But still, not the blockchain, but the supply chain was fucked up. And so I remember literally people paying $100 for a sriracha bottle during that time, and people gladly paid it. I don't know. The sriracha one hit me hard. That one, I love putting sriracha on my food and shit. That one pissed me off. But basically, and now it's come down. I do think this is the projections of it going down over time. I do believe this is wrong. They are going to, I mean, especially as we get into 26, right? Especially as we get into 26, halfway through the year, they're going to put a new Fed governor on May 12th. He could get out sometime earlier. That would be really cool. Like Trump is talking about that Biden may have instated him or some of the other Fed governors through auto pen, and they're trying to see if they can get some of these people out and put more people that they have. But I'm not holding my breath on it, but we'll see. But basically, May 12th, we'll have a new Fed chairman, and very likely from there, they're going to cut interest rates another 100 basis points from there, and do a lot more QE. So I actually kind of expect this weird thing where I think inflation's probably during the second half of 26 is going to start creeping back up to 4%. And then eventually they'll crush it at some point with the interest rates going back up at some point. So it's going to be, we're going to have some interest rates going up and down over time, but maybe Trump just lets it fucking free roll for a while, and just to spur the economy along for employment basically, and then eventually crack it at some point. Especially if he thinks they're going to lose, he might just crash it during 28 or something like that. Sriracha business partners were beefing. Yeah, there was all kinds of stuff going around, but I think it wasn't the part. I think it was more of like the field side of it. But yeah, it totally could have been
a bit lower than the median projection in September. Thereafter, the median falls to 2%. Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a 1/4 percentage point to 3.5% to 3.75%. In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. There is no risk-free path for...
Now, the reason that they're in this position is because they started cutting interest rates so fucking late. The Fed is always so late. They cause the problem, then they overreact to fix the problem, and then they become the problem again, or they create the problem. So there's no problem at all. Let's speed shit up. Boom, and then we cause a problem. Oh no, how could this happen? Now we got to react and solve the problem. And then oh fuck, the problem's still going bad. So let's keep overcorrecting it and then make it work. It's just Jesus. I mean, literally they force some of the craziness in the business cycle. So bull run not over, and bull run's not over, dog. I don't believe so. I do not believe so. But the Fed, because of political leanings to the left, which is crazy because I really have not, at least not in my lifetime, I haven't seen this too much because they've usually been pretty fair, Republican or Democrat. Whoever's in office is running the show. That's just kind of how it always goes. They've obviously are in Obama's and Biden's pocket, and they're trying to fuck up the economy in order to basically give the midterms over to the Democrats. I mean, there's no other, literally Occam's razor. What else could they have done? They're literally saying, well, the inflation's high, but also this is the first time ever that, the labor market's also weak. We don't know what to do. They fucking delayed it. They should have cut since January of 25. They've literally started cutting 3 meetings ago. So September, October, and December, 75 basis points. There should have been 125 basis points of cuts or more. You know, I'm not saying it take to zero, but we should have been somewhere like maybe high 2s, mid 2s, low 2s in the total Fed fund rate. It's fucking crazy that this is even happening. So like, well, I don't know how this could have happened. This doesn't happen very often. Well, yeah, because you fucking played politics. That's why it happened. Stupidness. I mean, look, Trump's over here fucking literally calling you guys retards and shit because too. I mean, you're fucking over the real estate market. Like, well, I don't know, because the real estate market's one of the last places where Americans have a lot of money. A lot of Americans have money in stock market, but if they dump the stock market, the economy's fucked. And what's pumping the brakes on the, so if you look at it, a lot of Americans bought homes between 2000, I'll say 11 to 2020. If you bought your house, let's just call it 2019. So there's about a 10-year area there where millennials, Xers, and boomers bought a lot of properties and they appreciated. So there's a ton of equity. Even though the prices have gone down on real estate, there is a lot of equity in housing, but they can't make the switch because it's not worth to refinance, and it's very difficult to sell properties right now because as more properties are coming online, it's putting a lot of pressure, as well as all the baby boomers are in retirement age and they're basically selling their houses off. And this is causing a glut of real estate to come on the market because the majority of real estate is owned by baby boomers. Yeah, they had no issues cutting for Biden. They did a 50 basis point cut for Biden to help the economy out pre-election. Wonder why. And then no cuts for the entire, because and I kind of understand at least a little bit. Okay, we're not going to cut during the presidential race, whatever. Okay, fine, accepted. Okay, Trump won. All right, cool. They could have cut during December, maybe November, but okay, fair enough. New year, new me, new ho, right? New body. They had time to cut. Like, I can literally say the dates. There were so many chances to cut. They missed out on over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meetings. No, 5 meetings. They could have cut in January, March, May, June, July. They decided not to cut till September. So they wasted 75, 80% of the year not cutting. And then with those high, because the interest rates are stuck at the entire point in time, a lot of companies like I'll use Caesars Entertainment here in Las Vegas as an example. They're sort of like a zombie corporation. They have a lot of debt. So because the rates are so high, they can't refinance or take new debt out at lower rates and basically pay back the old debt with new debt. I know that's bullshit, but that's what a lot of companies in America do and across the planet. It's a European issue. It is an Asia issue. It is a global issue where basically companies are up to their heels in debt, and basically they need debt to run their businesses, and they're running out of their old credit lines, so they have to take new debt out. And because the new debt has such a high rate at it, especially if they're not a AAA, SSS bond company like Apple could borrow at the lowest rate possible, and even they are paying some decently high rates. So imagine you're a company that's like, your track record is not that great, you're borrowing at damn near like credit card level. You're borrowing at 9%, 7% as a corporation, and they're borrowing $1 billion or a couple billions of dollars. This takes a lot of money off the bottom line. So then it causes the companies to be less likely to essentially hire people because they owe so much money in debt. So the interest rates not coming down not only just hurt the business cycle on refinancing for corporations, but Americans, where there's last vestiges of savings, they could refinance their home, get money out of their house, and this could like spur the economy along, because then that would give Americans some savings nest egg. Because I know a lot of people right now that literally they would take the money out of their house right now if they could. And obviously, and I don't even think that's the smartest idea for some people. I think there's more an advanced thing, but fuck it. This is how the economy explodes. Fuck it. Let me take $200,000 out of my house. I'll go buy the wife a new Escalade. I'll put $80,000 in the bank there, and I'll go spend $20,000 on a fucking vacation. But this is how the American economy works, ladies and gentlemen. It's the fucking truth. It's the fucking truth. And that's it. That $80,000 that guy has in savings will keep him running for a couple of years while he makes some moves and stuff. And that's the game. That's how a good portion of America plays financial games. It's make believe. It's bullshit. Now, I'm not saying real estate's bullshit, but some of the evaluations of these properties are bullshit. But that's what it is. That's what it is. And some people like YOLO, they take it out. Like some of you degenerate motherfuckers, if you could take money out of your house or sell your house or sell your house, buy a cheaper house on the low, move across the country and take the in between to go buy assets, you guys would. And then guess what? You'd get richer over time. You're playing the economic game correctly. But that's what it is, So a lot of the root problems here is don't hate the player, hate the game, but this is the game he's created, and then they're complaining that why is the game like this? Well, you made it like that by playing politics.
Policy as we navigate this tension between our employment and inflation goals. A reasonable base case is that the effects of tariffs on inflation will be relatively short-lived, effectively a one-time shift in the price level. Our obligation is to make sure that a one-time increase in the price level does not become an ongoing inflation problem. But with downside risks to employment having risen in recent months, the balance of risks has shifted. Our framework calls for us to take a balanced approach in promoting both sides of our dual mandate. Accordingly, we judged it appropriate at this meeting to lower our policy rate by a 1/4 percentage point. With today's decision, we have lowered our policy rate 3/4 of a percentage point over our last 3 meetings. This further normalization of our policy stance should help stabilize the labor market while allowing inflation to resume its downward trend toward 2% once the effects of tariffs have passed through. The adjustments to our policy stance since September bring it within a range of plausible estimates of neutral and leave us well positioned to determine the extent and timing of additional adjustments to our policy rate based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. In our summary of economic projections, FOMC participants wrote down their individual assessments of an appropriate path of the federal funds rate under what each participant judges to be the most likely scenario for the economy. The median participant projects that the appropriate level of the federal funds rate will be 3.4% at the end of 2026 and 3.1% at the end of 2027, unchanged from September.
Now, these projections have to be taken with a grain of salt because just in the beginning of the year, during January meeting, they literally were saying that the projections is like, oh yeah, we're going to do about 100 basis points of cut in 25, another 100 in 26, and maybe just 50 in 27 to take us down to 2.25. So now they're like saying like, they're literally in 24 and into early 25, they literally were saying they were going to cut rates down by the beginning of 27, the rates should be down to 2%. Now they're saying, we're probably going to average like 3, maybe 3.5%. What crack are they smoking? So this is almost like foolishness because it almost doesn't matter what he says. Whatever Jerome says, it only matters for the next 6 months or 5 months, really. Because as soon as he's out of here, the Fed's going to go under change, and it's going to become much more easing economy. So, interesting, very interesting. Is it me or the last one that looks like a phallic? Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of bullshit. These are bullshit assessments, basically. They're trying to play both games here and stuff like that, but like I would crush you. You would rather have the unemployment low and then worry about the inflation and stuff and try to get that down. I think energy is going to come down in 26. Factories are going to come online. A lot of the factory stuff that Trump's implementing here in the States happens in 26. So also energy production is going to increase in the United States. The whole Venezuela stuff that's going down is going to lower the base of the gas, basically. So we're basically putting some pressure on OPEC. We're going to probably either we take over Venezuela or Venezuela plays ball with us, and that oil is going to start entering the economy, basically. So Venezuelan oil is going to help lower the gas at the pump over 2026, which is nice, basically. But Alex Perez is absolutely correct. He's setting up the case for Democrats to win the midterm so they can say they won because of That's exactly what it is. So they can have deadlock because they don't like that Trump's passing a lot of things and shit and embarrassing them, which they deserve to be embarrassed. Let's be honest. But Trump's also saying that the GOP, which is like the Republican houses and stuff for the House of Representatives and the senators, are a bunch of backstabbing fucking faggots. So, which I totally agree with as well. Like they're kind of pussies and they're kind of not doing what they're supposed to be doing. He's trying his best as much as he can, but like these guys are just playing games right now. Maybe they're just trying to hold out because they're trying to make deals after the midterms, basically. So horrible. Politics is such a grimy game, but it is what it is.
As is always the case, these individual forecasts are subject to uncertainty, and they're not a committee plan or decision. Monetary policy is not on a preset course, and we will make our decisions on a meeting-by-meeting basis. Let me turn now to issues related to the implementation of monetary policy, with the reminder that these issues are separate from and have no implications for the stance of monetary policy. In light of the continued tightening in money market interest rates relative to our administered rates and other indicators of reserve market conditions, the committee judged that reserve balances have declined to ample levels. Accordingly, at today's meeting, the committee decided to initiate purchases of shorter-term Treasury securities, mainly Treasury bills, for the sole purpose of maintaining an ample supply of reserves over time. Such increases in our securities holdings ensure that the federal funds rate remains within its target range and are necessary because the growth of the economy leads to rising demand over time for our liabilities, including currency and reserves. As detailed in a statement released today by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, reserve management purchases will amount to $40 billion in the first month and may remain elevated for a few months to alleviate expected near-term pressures in money markets.
So he just said a few months. So basically says we're going to get $40 billion of purchases in the month of December. Very likely another $40 to $30 billion in January. So if you look at what he just said right there, they're basically going to buy 100. This is a guesstimation here, but I would probably say till March. They're probably, if let's just say they buy 40, then 30. It's very likely that they are going to purchase about $150 billion, maybe $140 billion of treasuries by the end of the first quarter. With that, they're going to continue to buy every single month, but eventually they'll start tapering it down. So they just said $150 billion in treasury purchases. If you play the math there in terms of how much money, it's basically because once that money enters the system, it enters banks, it rehypothecates. And the way banks work is that cash enters the system. And basically, depending on how fast the velocity of money is in the banks, you can get a 9x multiple at the maximum, or more than likely a 4 to 5x multiple on the money. So we're talking about somewhere between like $600 billion to about $1 trillion of liquidity entering the market. Very good for stocks and crypto. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. And ooh, I gotta hear that again, man. Let's see. Oh, cool. It does work. Nice.
As detailed in a statement released today by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, reserve management purchases will amount to $40 billion in the first month and may remain elevated for a few months to alleviate expected near-term pressures in money markets. Thereafter, we expect the size of reserve management purchases to decline, though the actual pace will depend on market conditions.
That is interesting. So, like, they basically implied here that it's going to be multiple months of purchases. Now, obviously, they could just like do a 40 and then just taper it down in January to low. It could just keep trickling down, but it seems like it's probably going to be 40 and 40, then probably 30 or 25, and then 15, 10 until eventually they're not purchasing anymore. Yeah, Charlie's right. Yeah. Yo, if you could just give me a small loan of $30 million, dude, I'm not asking for. Yeah, we're asking for a rounding error, dude. Well, we'll make multiples on that capital. Oh my God, man, that's funny. Shout out to Charlie. Hit the like button, you guys. But just 33. I'm asking for $33 million. You know, just a small loan of $33 million. You know, all into Roy. But $40 billion a month, and then they'll cut that number down.
In our implementation framework, an ample supply of reserves means that the federal funds rate and other short-term interest rates are primarily controlled by the setting of our administered rates, rather than day-to-day discretionary interventions in money markets. In this regime, standing repurchase agreement or repo operations are a critical tool to ensure that the federal funds rate remains within its target range, even on days of elevated pressures in money markets. Consistent with this view, the committee eliminated the aggregate limit on standing repo operations.
So right there, that right there was the most important thing he said this entire video right here. That's even crazy. I've seen no one on Twitter talk about this. I literally heard this and I replayed this like 4 times. I couldn't fucking believe he said that. Did you just hear what he just said right there? They took the limit off of the overnight repo market. They could pump that shit up to $1 trillion now. They just took the limits off the overnight repo market. So they're not saying it's QE, but like we're basically printing $40 billion a month in treasury bills and for T-bill purchases. And you know, maybe the overnight repo market, you know, like we take the limit off of that. You know, we're no longer, we can just whatever. You know, don't look over here. Literally, I've seen no one, Twitter, anyone talking about it. That is probably the most important secret. Look, he just said it so matter of fact. Like I think most people didn't even catch it.
Interventions in money markets. In this regime, standing repurchase agreement or repo operations are a critical tool to ensure that the federal funds rate remains within its target range, even on days of elevated pressures in money markets. Consistent with this view, the committee eliminated the aggregate limit on standing repo operations. These operations are intended to support monetary policy implementation and smooth market functioning and should be used when economically sensible. To conclude, the Fed has been assigned 2 goals for monetary policy: maximum employment and stable prices. We remain committed to supporting maximum employment, bringing our inflation sustainably down to our 2% goal, and keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Our success in delivering on these goals matters to all Americans. We understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. At the Fed, we will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
So yeah, he's about to get these. There's some really good questions in here, but like, so now look at this. So the only thing is like there's such good news. So the market's kind of reacting weird about it because, of course, he said that we might not cut. We might spread the cuts out, or we might not cut much into 26. But it doesn't matter really because he's out by the middle of 26 anyway, right? But there's now basically QE. There's 2 versions of QE Lite. There's actually like literally the purchases of those treasuries is QE. It is a small QE because usually when they do QE, it's usually $100 to $300 billion in pushes. But since we're not going through like a total collapse or some shit, or trying to restart the entire market, then it's not as big as a one, but it is pretty substantial. So $40 billion a month until they say so, basically. Then on top of that, they took the limits off of the overnight repo market, so they could put another 40, 50, or $100 billion of push into the overnight repo market as well. Interesting. It's so Jose, it is extremely unlikely that Jerome's going to get reinstated. I mean, like the president's just openly talking shit about him and calling him an idiot. So like Trump would look retarded rehiring him again. It's not happening. They're calling it QE by a different name, but it's basic QE. Exactly. It is. Absolutely it is. And if you remember during the time, if you guys remember during the time, I know I'm asking a lot here, but like during 2020 and 21, the first QE they actually did during the the COVID lockdown and stuff like that, or as COVID was rolling out, was we had a banking freezer for a second. They did overnight repo market. So the first QE was overnight repo market. Then it was full on QE. So the overnight repo market effectively was QE light. Now they're doing they're actually doing QE, but it's a very light QE. But regardless or not, money printing is money printing, and the balance sheet. So the tightening ended officially today or on the 1st, and now they're expending the money, the balance sheet out. Let's see. The Fed sounds like a fly-by-night Ponzi scheme, especially with the overnight repo. Yeah. Now, I'm not too mad about the overnight repo market too bad, because it's basically the banks are getting scared of lending to each other. I mean, so it is causing that. But like in here, I forgot where I saw it in the video. Like I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but like he gave a reason for why they're doing the 40 billion. I could not believe what I heard when he said it. I'll probably say it once it comes up in the video. If not, maybe if it's too deep in the video, then I'll just say it out loud. But it is one of the biggest bullshit reasonings for QE I've ever heard. I cannot believe that. I just impossible that they think this is the reason for QE, man. So, what is normal QE? Literally saying, hey, we're basically doing quantitative easing. They'll say it, but basically this is quantitative easing. They're just not saying it because it's not kosher, basically. But they're doing quantitative easing. Absolutely.
Thank you, Howard Schneider with Reuters. Just first turning to the statement, just to be clear, we're on the same page here. The insertion of the phrase, considering the extent and timing of additional adjustments, does that indicate that the Fed is now on hold until there's some clearer signal from inflation or jobs or the evolution of the economy along the baseline outlook?
So, yes, the adjustments since September bring our policy within a broad range of estimates of neutral. And as we noted in our statement today, we are well positioned to determine the extent and timing of additional adjustments based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. That new language points out that we'll carefully evaluate that incoming data. And also, I would note that having reduced our policy rate by 75 basis points since September and 175 basis points since last September, the Fed funds rate is now within a broad range of estimates of its neutral value, and we are well positioned to wait to see how the economy evolves.
And if I could follow up on the outlook there, it seems like with the additional GDP growth coupled with easing inflation and a fairly steady unemployment rate, this seems like a pretty optimistic outlook for next year. What's given rise to that? Is this an early bet on AI? Is there some sense of improving productivity out there? What's driving that?
So a number of things are driving what's happening in the forecast. And I would say if you look broadly at outside forecasts, you do see a pickup in growth in many of those now too. So it is it's partly that consumer spending has held up. It's been resilient, and it to another degree it is that AI spending on data centers and related to AI has been holding up business investment.
This is hurting him so bad. I bet you it's hurting him because he's a Democrat. It's hurting him so bad to say that because Trump is investing a lot into AI, and it like regardless or not, you have like. If you let China have it or you let somebody else have it, it is very bad. So like Trump is doing a good job in terms of like he's putting the money where his mouth is, and he's fucking pumping as much as he can into AI, as well as making sure the chips are created here in the United States. And it takes a while to create this, the new coal factories, nuclear reactor. I'm still, I'll see it when I believe it. But like, there's a lot of talk, but like, there still hasn't been one reactor made. But hey, fracking is going back up. So the oil production in the United States is going back up. Coal plants are going to be reopened, and hopefully, maybe some sort of new dams created. But that takes a while because we suck ass at fucking moving fast on this shit. But the energy sector is going to be like long term over the next 4 or 5 years is going to be up and to the right, and even under the Democrats, it's going to be up and to the right because it's going to be an energy like we're in a semiconductor race, an energy producing race, as well as that's really the big two races there, as well as crypto. He's putting the things in place. So there is going to be a new crypto bill that's going to get passed. That's going to be like, this is how you run a crypto company legally in the United States so you don't get arrested. Oh, cool. Thank God. Finally, I can actually run a business properly here in the stateside instead of the brain drain that's been happening. Because like pretty much the entire sector of the crypto sector has always been US based. It's just our best people have always just gone overseas to create everything because they don't want to get sued to kingdom come, basically.
So overall, the baseline expectation for next year is, at least at the Fed, and I think with outside forecasters too, is a pickup in growth from today's relatively low level of 1.7%. I mentioned that the SEP median is 1.7 for this year growth and 2.3 for next year. You actually, some of that is due to the shutdown. So you can take 0.2 out of 2026 and put it in 2025. So it would really be 1.9 and 2.1. But overall, yes, for a few reasons, fiscal policy is going to be supportive. And as I mentioned, AI spending will continue. The consumer continues to spend. So it looks like the baseline would be solid growth next year.
Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for taking our questions here. You had previously described rate cuts in terms of a risk management framework, and kind of following up on what Howard was asking, is the risk management phase of rate cuts over here? And have you taken out sufficient insurance, I guess, against potential weakness in terms of the data we might get next week when it comes to employment?
So we're going to get a great deal of data between now and the January meeting, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. And the data that we get are going to factor into our thinking. But yes, we have. If you go back, we held our policy rate at 5.4% for more than a year because inflation was high, very high, and unemployment in the labor market was really solid at that point. So what happened is over last summer of 24, inflation came down, and the labor market began to show real signs of weakness. And so we decided, as our framework tells us to do, that when the risks to the two goals become more equal, you should move from a stance that favors really dealing with one of them, in that case inflation, to a more balanced, more neutral setting. And so we did that. We did some cutting, and then we paused for a while to work our way through what was happening in the middle of the year. And then we resumed cuts in September, and we've cut now 3.
So they needed to wait that long. So right before the presidential, the race really started, they hit 50 basis points. So they needed to, so they didn't have enough data for they basically wasted about a half a year. They did a cut, I think it was in April, or it may have been in June. April or June of 24, they did 50 basis points cut right before the presidential race really heated up. And then 6 months wasn't enough time to get the data. Then they waited another fucking 9 months, 11 months until September of 25 to know that they should cut more. What a bunch of crock of shit. So they needed to wait a whole fucking year with the rates being that high to know that. That's fucking stupid. That was a lot. That's he's straight up lying right here. We needed to wait enough time to get the data to see if that was correct. They needed to wait a fucking year and a half. A year and a half. 50 basis points in the middle of 24. No, and then all the way 24. Then almost all the way until September of 25 to then start cutting again. What the fuck is he talking about? Do you hear these fucking lies coming out of his mouth right now? If literally the average person would never know this shit. The only reason I know about this shit is because I watch this shit like a hawk. I watch every fucking meeting. I break it down. I listen to it multiple times. Do you hear this bullshit coming out of his mouth right now? I cannot believe the bullshit he's saying this.
Inflation to a more balanced, more neutral setting. And so we did that. We did some cutting, and then we paused for a while to work our way through what was happening in the middle of the year. And then we resumed cuts in September, and we've cut now 3. We've now cut a total of 175 basis points. And as I mentioned, we feel like where we're positioned now we're well positioned to wait and see how the economy evolves from here.
If I could just follow up on the SEP, you have a whole lot of big increase in the growth numbers, but not a big decline in the unemployment numbers. And is that an AI factor in there? What is going on in terms of the dynamic of you get more growth, but you don't get a whole lot of decline in unemployment? Thank you, sir.
So it is the implication is obviously higher productivity. And some of that may be AI. It just also, I think.
So that is that. I was talking about this earlier at the beginning of the stream. Is that the GDP is going to start going up, productivity is going up, on these companies, because I mean, overall technology is getting better. We're getting better at manufacturing things, even if it's worldwide. And AI is helping with productivity. It absolutely is. I mean, I think if someone is actually using AI, just even using ChatGPT or Gronk or any of these, or Gemini or any of these platforms, you know, they're like, I'm being generous here, but maybe like a person is increasing their IQ by like 5-10 points, which is like half a standard deviation or a full deviation. I would say probably closer to half a standard deviation in intelligence. That's a huge jump. But on top of that, the tools to actually be able to automate things, or on the digital side, it is actually increasing people's income to the people who can properly use these tools. That's not a lot of people, but the proactive people, it is increasing their GDP and their ability to provide more things. Like we're now able to, like, as an example, as us as a company here in, like, you know, here at the CMC and the Citadel, we've been able to, like, you know, we have our you know, weekly report coming out, and now we have like an AI format where they can read it as a podcast now and like react to things. It's actually kind of cool. So we've been able to add like AI tools to even to our own products. That's allowed us. And now we don't have to hire or do, like, it saved us time in terms of, we don't have to like read off the report in real life anymore and create like a podcast of me and Charlie's voice. Now we have somebody else that can do it. That's just reading off the same words that we've essentially, you know, written through our report, basically, in the Citadel. And there's all kinds of other things we're using it for. Like, I'm using it for research purposes. Now, I only use AI for research purposes. It's really great at finding articles or news that I could have missed. But, you know, there's people using AI for trading. I think that's kind of not, I don't think it's there yet, but eventually it might be there. But, you know, you have to trust, you have to put huge amounts of, like, I would say, training wheels on it, because like you can get wrecked really easily basically on it. But it's really great it's helped me a lot in terms of finding research, right? It's helped us in terms of, like, you know, it's helped make better videos. The memes have gone better. Like memes even on my own show have become better. Like, I mean, this, like, I did this whole thing right here about Disney right here. Like, this is literally made from AI.
I hate football. I hate video games. I don't want to goon whatever. I want to be like, hello, Jeffree Star, paint my nails, do my face.
Send 2 or 3 years to Dagestan and forget. From Disney and Pixar.
He's a little twink. Well, he's your son.
This Christmas, I know what I have to do.
Where are you taking me?
Move, Mr. Unicorn! Pressure the hips, quick! Hit! Lower, chest! Big way! Faster! All the way up! Don't you quit! Breathe hard! On the deep
Dagestan.
Yeah, you couldn't have really done. Only a couple of people that maybe worked in that industry could have done a meme like that, and they more likely, and basically would have been a much more niche sort of thing. Now you can basically have that level of tools available to almost everybody if they can. It does take a little bit of figuring out, but you can create things like that now. So the creativity on the meme side has even gone up, you know. So, but like what I'm saying is, in the next 4 or 5 years, AI is going to be much more where, like, we can, like me and Charlie and some of you guys can start using these tools to a greater effect. But it's still kind of like relatively not there yet, but it's getting there basically.
Productivity has just been almost structurally higher for several years now. So if you start thinking of it as 2% per year, you can sustain higher growth without more job creation. Of course, higher productivity is also what enables incomes to rise over long periods of time. So it's basically a good thing, but that's certainly the implication.
Thank you. Colby Smith with the New York Times. Today's decision was clearly very divided. It wasn't just the 2 official dissents against the cut, but there were also soft dissents from 4 others. And I'm just wondering if this reluctance from several people to support recent reductions suggests that there is a much higher bar for cuts in the near term. And what exactly does the committee need to see if things are well positioned right now to support a January reduction?
Sure. So let me just say, as I mentioned, and as I've mentioned here before, the situation is that our 2 goals are a bit in tension, right? So, interestingly, everyone around the table at the FOMC agrees that inflation is too high and that we want it to come down, and agrees that the labor market has softened and that there's further risk. Everyone agrees on that. Where the difference is how do you weight those risks? And what does your forecast look like? And where do you ultimately where do you think the bigger risk is? And you know, it's very unusual to have persistent tension between the 2 parts of the mandate. And when you do, this is what you see. And I think it's actually what you would expect to see, and we do see it. Meanwhile, the discussions we have are as good as any we've had in my 14 years at the Fed. They're very thoughtful. respectful, and you just have people who have strong views. And, you know, we come together and we reach you know, a place where we can make a decision. We made a decision today. We had, you know, 9 out of 12 supported it, so fairly broad support. But it's not like the normal situation where everyone agrees on the direction and what to do. It's more spread out, and I think that's only inherent in the situation. In terms of what it would take, you know.
So this is actually kind of important what they said here. So basically, all the Fed governors basically agree. Yeah, we're not going to do any rate hikes. No rate hikes. We're either going to keep it neutral or cut or print money, basically, which is actually important. So, like, that's at least one good thing. That's why I'm always surprised the market's doing what it's doing right now. They're like, oh, no, what's going on? Like Bitcoin's already recovered to 90K already. So we're like, oh, we flash crashed. Like, we're back to 90K already on Bitcoin. You know, so that is good, at least, that, like, there's not going to be no surprise rate increase, because it's just like, it's not like the inflation is, you know, trending high, but it's not that high. They've already said, I think like 3 meetings ago, I think in the September meeting, actually, they said that they're willing to basically take higher inflation because they're trying to help alleviate the job side of it, basically, which is their own fucking fault, basically, but it is what it is.
We all have an outlook in terms of what's going to come, but I think ultimately having cut 75 and, you know, the effects of the 75 basis points will only begin to be coming in. As I've said before a couple of times, we're well positioned to wait to see how the economy evolves. We'll just have to see. And we will get.
And you know, shout out to Ricky right here, man. Miguel cooking pal like ramen noodle soup. I know, and it's sad because I actually really think that he did a great job up until like the beginning of 2025. Like I understood. You know, I was like, all right, I can understand where we're at, because the race was such a big thing in the United States. People were really hopeful for it and stuff like that, and people were very happy when Trump came into office. That because it's that whole thing, like what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream here, or the beginning of him talking on the FOMC meeting here about, you know, it is at the end of the, like, fundamentals are the most important thing, long term or medium term, but perception is all that matters in the beginning. So if people think that you're going to do a good job, they're going to invest, or like they think things are going to be going good in the future, people are willing to risk their savings and invest into, or waste money into the economy, which helps. So it kind of pushes the economy towards that, basically, the economy doing better, because of their perception that the economy is going to do better. Fuck it, let me take risks now. Let's ball. And they take caution to the side, right? Because there's people that just have the money there and they're just not investing it because they're scared. And even if they invested that money, they'd still have money and they'd be fine. There's a lot of that people. And those people, like, are the ones that are like the kind of like bitch made motherfuckers, right? But there's other people that are like, fuck it, we ball. I mean, this kind of last money here, but man, let's do it. Let's take the risk. And enough people, those people do that, it does move the economy in that direction, basically. But he did a great job in terms of the soft landing, but he started playing politics, which I would say I didn't think he was playing politics up until maybe just the beginning of, like, okay, he should have been cutting already, but I understood, okay, he doesn't want to get attacked by either left or the right for playing favorites towards the Republicans and Democrats during the election. Okay. I accepted that. I think most people accepted that. I think they weren't getting I think that was probably the right move to do. But afterwards, okay, new president, new rules. All right, let's start cutting. They did not cut in January, and they fucking like they could have still started cuts maybe even March or if I look at let's see where they could March, May is where they should have cut last minute, and I think it's still we wouldn't be in such a problem right now with the job economy. I think the job numbers still would have been semi bad, but they wouldn't be as bad as they are right now. But they just kept lagging it the entire time playing politics. So he kind of ruined. If he had done that and then started cutting, I think he wouldn't have been attacked by Trump very much or at all. And, you know, I think his term, he would have been one of the better Fed governors or Fed chairman. But he stuck the landing, but started fumbling afterwards or something. It's insane. Like, so it's like he did a very complicated thing, and he got us a soft landing, which was not easy. You know, it wasn't his fault COVID happened. The government did this, but he did as much as he could to steer the ship, and he got us. You know, he did the job. He did a great job during COVID. A lot of people that don't understand what he was doing or understand like the finance side of it, like say like, no, they printed money, they did this. Well, like they had to do it. If they didn't, the entire global economy would have nuked down bad. And all these people saying like, let it happen, are the same people that be crying they'll be crying and bitching and crying. They would go, the people would lose all. People don't understand how bad it is. Like there needs to be a bit of a reset. I think what they should have did, they should have jailed bankers during the 2008 crisis and stuff like that. But without them doing this, we never would have had crypto and Bitcoin. Imagine if that they allowed it, like if they allowed it like Iceland to happen, Satoshi Nakamoto would have never even created Bitcoin. Maybe Bitcoin would have been something further. It would have been maybe developed later on or something like that. Like the way they handled, and it wasn't him. It was Ben Bernanke that did this, and it was really Alan Greenspan that caused this whole problem in the beginning. Like Alan Greenspan was the real reason that all this shit happened, because he just started lowering rates and then fucking turbo boosting them to zero and printing money and doing all this crap during the housing boom. And it was really, if you look at it, it was really under George W. Bush Jr. that really caused a lot of it. Actually, it may have started a little bit towards the end of Clinton's presidency, but then it was just dramatically increased into what's called George Bush Jr.'s term, right? And then Alan Greenspan just kept it going. And then from there, Ben Bernanke was there to kind of clean up the mess from imploding. And honestly, if you think about, I have to agree with like what, Ben Bernanke did, but at the same time, I think there should have been a lot of people to go to jail. I think that would have cleaned everything up. I think the money printing they did had to be done because going to a Great Depression, it was one of the reasons that the Great Depression was one of the things that helped fucking the World War II happen and exacerbate the whole problem. And on top, well, besides the Treaty of Versailles and all that stuff like that, but like it was just like the Depression just was a terrible fumble by the fucking Fed at the time during during the 1930s basically. So they were like, fuck that shit. Ben Bernanke, like literally, I mean, he literally got rewards because he was one of the most well-studied person about the Great Depression. And he was like, I'm not going to let a Great Depression happen under my tutelage. Fuck that. I don't care if I get shit for it. And he literally stopped it from happening. So I think it was the correct move, man. None of us wanted to go through that shit. I mean, truly, you don't understand the level of poverty we would have gone through. Like, I couldn't imagine. I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, everybody, I think we would have lost our, I mean, literally, I think who knows, we would have been on the streets probably, how bad everything would have gotten. Like my parents would have lost their house, 100% chance they would have lost their house. Who knows where we'd be at today? Who the fuck knows, dude? A lot of you guys would have totally lost your jobs. I mean, who knows where we'd be at today if they didn't do that? But I think what they fucked up is there should have been consequences for the people who caused these things. Like we should have had bankers go to jail. That part should have been done. But we averted a lot of pain and suffering that should have happened. And there's still a ton of pain and suffering that happened because of like the money printing they did during the housing crisis, right? So it's a complicated issue and stuff. But if you understand the economics of it and it's kind of the lesser of two evils, basically.
As you know, quite a bit of data. I should mention on the data, as long as I'm talking about it, that we're going to need to be careful in assessing, particularly the household survey data. There are very technical reasons about the way data are collected in some of these measures, both in inflation and in labor, in the labor market, so that the data may be distorted and not just sort of more volatile, but distorted, and that's really because data was not collected in October and half of November. So we're going to get data, but we're going to have to look at it carefully and with a somewhat skeptical eye by the time of the January meeting. Notwithstanding that, we will have a lot of the December data by the time of the January meeting. So we expect to see a lot more, but I'm just saying that the what we get for example, CPI or for the household survey, we're gonna look at that really carefully and understand that it may be distorted by very technical factors.
And just one more question on dissents. I mean, you talk about it in a very positive way, just given the complicated nature of the situation we're in economically. But is there any point in which those dissents become counterproductive, either to the Fed's communication and the messaging around the policy path forward?
I don't feel that we're at that point at all. I don't. I would say, again, these are good, thoughtful, respectful discussions. And you hear people say, and you hear many outside analysts say the same thing. I could make a case for either side. I mean, I could make that case. It's a close call. We have to make decisions. And we always hope that the data will give us a clear read. But in this situation, you have competing. If you look through the SEP, you'll see that a very large number of participants agree that risks are to the upside for unemployment and to the upside for inflation. So what do? You've got one tool. You can't do two things at once. So at what pace do you move? What size moves do you make, and that kind of thing? And what's the timing of them? It's a very challenging situation. I think we're in a good place to, as I mentioned, to wait and see how the economy evolves.
Nick.
Nick Timmeros of the Wall Street Journal. Chair Powell, there's been some discussion recently of the 1990s. In the 1990s, the committee did two discrete sequences of 3 quarter-point cuts, one in 1995-96 and one in 1998. And after both of those, the next move in rates was up, not down. With policy now closer to neutral, is it a foregone conclusion that the next move in rates is down, or should we think of policy risks as genuinely two-sided from here?
So I don't think that a rate hike is anybody's base case at this point, and I'm not hearing that. What you see is some people feel we should stop here and that we're at the right place and just wait. Some people feel like we should cut once or more this year and next year. But when people are writing down their estimates of policy of where it should go, it is either holding here or cutting a little or cutting more than a little. So I don't see the base case as involved.
So at least is good. At least we're not going to get no surprise rate increases, which would just fucking fuck the market 100%. But who the fuck is saying no cuts at all? That's insane to me, man. But like even what he just said right now, there's only like a portion of the people want another cut into next year. I mean, obviously the money printing is going to help, but like, man, another cut would be nice. I think it's very likely we will get another cut, but we're just going to have to see what they say by the next meeting and stuff. Cause like, this is the last meeting they're having for the year, and I don't think it's out yet. The new schedule for next year.
That. So of course, a data set of 2, now 3 is not a big data set, but you are right about those 2 3-cut times in the 90s.
If I could follow up, the unemployment rate has been rising very gradually for the better part of 2 years, and indeed the statement today no longer describes the unemployment rate as remaining low. What gives you confidence it won't continue rising in 2026, especially when housing and other rate-sensitive sectors still appear to be feeling restrictive policy from the notwithstanding the 150 basis points in cuts prior to today?
So I think the idea is that with now having cut 75 basis points more now and having policy, I'd call it in a broad range of plausible estimates of neutral, that will be a place which will enable the labor market to stabilize or to only tick up 1 or 2 more tenths, but we won't see, any kind of a sharper downturn, which we haven't seen any evidence of at all. At the same time, policy is still in a place where it's not accommodative, and we feel like we have made progress this year in non-tariff related inflation, and as tariffs come through, as they flow through, that'll show through next year. But as I said, we're well placed to wait and see how that turns out. That is our expectation, but we're going to start to see the data, and it'll tell us whether we were right or not.
Claire.
Claire Jones, Financial Times. A lot of people interpreted your comments at the October meeting that, when there's a foggy situation, we slow down, to mean that, there wouldn't be a cut now, there'd be a cut in January instead. So it'd be good to get a sense of why did the committee decide to move today rather than to move in January instead? Thank you.
Right. So in October, I said that there was no certainty of moving, and that was That was indeed correct. I said it's possible you could think about it that way, but I was careful to say other people could look at it differently. So why did we move today? I would say point to a couple things. First of all, gradual cooling in the labor market has continued. Unemployment is now up 0.3 from June through September. Payroll jobs averaging 40,000 per month since April.
That was a really great question from her right there. And basically, damn, the labor market's looking very bad right now. Oof. And I don't know where they're pulling these numbers that like the spending is good, right? The only reason spending is good is because we had such a bad spending last month that now that the EBT turned back on and the government turned back on, as well as government employees are getting repaid again, that's the reason there's a boost to spending right now. It's very temporary because that spending is going to go back down. Also, you want to know something scary? There might be another government shutdown by the end of January.
I think there's an overstatement in these numbers by about 60,000. So that would be negative 20,000 per month. And also just to point out one other thing, surveys of households and businesses both showed declining supply and demand for workers. So I think you can say that the labor market has continued to cool gradually, maybe just a touch more gradually than we thought. In terms of inflation, it's going to come in a touch lower. And I think the evidence is kind of growing that what's happening here is services inflation coming down, and that's offset by increases in goods. And that goods inflation is entirely in sectors where there are tariffs. So that does build on the story. And so far, it's only a story that that the goods inflation, which is really the source of the excess at this point, almost more than half the source of the excess inflation is goods, is tariffs. And you've got to say then, so what do we expect from tariffs? And I would say that is to some extent down to looking for broader economic, heat. Do we see a hot economy? Do we see constraints? Do we see what's going on with wages? You saw the ECI report today. It doesn't feel like a hot economy that wants to generate, Phillips curve kind of inflation. So we look at all those things, and we say that this was a decision to make. It obviously wasn't unanimous, but overall, that was the judgment that we made, and that's the action we took.
And just on the ample reserves point, how concerned were people around the table about some of the tensions we've seen in money markets? Thank you.
I wouldn't say concerned. So what really happened is this. Balance sheet shrinkage, sometimes called QT, went on. We had a framework in place for monitoring it, and nothing happened. The overnight reverse repo facility went down pretty much close to zero. And then beginning in September, the federal funds rate started to tick up within the range, right? And it ticked up almost all the way to interest on reserve balances. There's nothing wrong with that. What that's telling you is that we're actually in an ample reserves regime. So, we knew this was going to come. When it finally did come, it came a little quicker than expected, but we were absolutely there to take the actions that we said we would take. So, and those actions are today. So, we announced that we're resuming reserve management purchases.
So what he's kind of talking about here is that, so during the time when they were doing a good job, they basically, one of the big things that they wanted to do during, like, I would say 23 and 24 was eventually, with quantitative tightening, is get rid of some of the supply down there. So one of the things we're trying to do over time is they weren't directly selling treasuries off, but they were letting treasuries run off. So like if a treasury like hit its due date, they would just collect the original principal money and then delete that money off the balance sheet and not repurchase new bonds. So it was basically they were just letting like hex stakes hit their term, and they didn't restake the hex stake anymore. They just let they just hold liquid basically, and then they destroyed the liquid. So it destroyed supply off the market. And with the overnight repo market, they were very successful to take the overnight repo market from hundreds of billions of dollars. I think I'm trying to remember the exact amount it was at, but it was quite high, to 0%. Basically, I think it was like a few $1 billion. Like it was like basically zero. And during the time, I was like, that's pretty good because now they have a bullet in the chamber. They can run it back up to hundreds of billions of dollars again. So they essentially reloaded. They basically reloaded bullets in the chamber. So like, cool. Now we can print money through the overnight repo market without making the overnight repo market balance sheet like trillions of dollars, which would be very bad. And then they lowered the balance sheet of holding, holding T-bills, government bonds, and mortgage-backed securities lower. They obviously, because they bought so much, they couldn't. There's no way they could have taken the balance sheet back to zero. There's no way they would destroy the economy, and they overdid that. But basically, they got as far as they could, and then basically by ending QT now, I mean they basically have lowered, like, we can't take the balance sheet to zero. There's no way. There's no possible way. It's very likely, unless the economy was just fucking raging like crazy, and they're like, all right, cool, let's just really start getting rid of some of this supply and get the balance sheet back to zero, which would be really cool if we could do that, but it would contract the economy too much. So they've now taken it as low as they can. So we got the overnight repo market. We can pump that up as much as we can, and they can start buying back bonds. And then basically so they lowered as much as they could, and now they're going to reinflate it back up. So if they go back to the previous levels they were, they're in a better position, because if they didn't do this, then the balance sheet would get even crazier and they would cause more problems in the economy, basically. Yeah.
That is completely separate from monetary policy. It's just we need to keep an ample supply of reserves out there. Why so big? The answer to that is, if you look ahead, you'll see that April 15th is coming up, and our framework is such that we
Here it is. So this is like, I would say this is the big moment right here of the whole interview right here. Jerome is about to tell you why they're money printing. I cannot, I mean, I gotta hit just for everyone in the back. I need the class to pay attention.
The science guy. Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill.
Now that I have everyone's attention, okay? This right here, I cannot believe what he's about to say right now. This right here is like single-handedly the most retarded thing I've heard this whole week. He's about to tell you why they're printing $40 billion a month. Not because the economy is doing bad, but because of this single reason right here.
want to have ample reserves even at times when reserves are at a low level temporarily. So that's what happens on tax day. People pay a lot of money to the government, reserves drop sharply and temporarily. So this seasonal buildup that we'll see in the next few months was going to happen anyway. It was going to happen because April 15th is April 15th. There's also secular ongoing growth of the balance sheet. We have to keep reserves, call it constant as it relates to the banking system or to the whole economy. And that alone calls for us to increase about $20-25 billion per month. So that's a small part that's going on. It's also happening in the context of a temporary few month front loading to get reserves high enough to get through the tax period in mid-April. So that's what's happening.
So what he just dry snitched on himself. So if you just hear what he just said, he said the reason that they're money printing is because basically people are going to pay a lot of taxes in April. So we have to money print right now because there's not enough money in the system for all this money to leave when they pay government taxes. What? Every year we pay how? What do you mean? What do you mean what? So he just said that basically they like he even said the number too. They basically have to print about $25 billion a month. So at least $100 billion in purchases they have to do plus some extra. So at the minimum, until April, they're going to be printing at least $25 billion per month in treasury purchases because basically the banks don't have enough reserves because there's going to be so much money that leaves the system from paying the government, and the government's going to waste the money that the banking sector is not going to have enough money there. So the banks are so tight on capital right now that if people pay their taxes, the banking system would collapse from paying taxes on April 15th. What?
alone calls for us to increase about $25 billion per month. So that's a small part that's going on. It's also happening in the context of a temporary few month front loading to get reserves high enough to get through the tax period in mid-April. So that's what's happening there.
Andrew.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. This is the last post-FOMC press conference before an important Supreme Court hearing next month. Can you talk about how you're hoping the Supreme Court will rule? And I'm just curious why the Fed's been so reticent on such a pivotal matter.
It's not something I want to address here, Andrew. We're not legal commentators. It's before the courts, and we think our
there's almost literally I can almost never remember, like, in at least since COVID, that there wasn't enough liquidity in the system to pay the tax for the banks to be in such a bad shape they need to pay their taxes. What like it's no that's he's right, because they essentially we played politics and over tightened for so long that banks are going to zero. So it's because we pay our taxes, motherfuckers going to hold the banking system. Like, bro, they're blaming us for paying taxes. They did QE for too long. The overnight repo market, I completely agree with that. They needed to repay that back and get that down. Good. But they over tightened for too long. Or they could have just lowered interest rates, and then that would have helped out, and that would have brought more money into the system. That would have caused more acceleration of money in the system, because people would be able to refinance or sell homes, or take the leftover from selling homes, like selling their house in the Midwest or selling their house in California, and then moving over to Texas or to Florida or to Nevada or to California or to some other place that's not cold where it's warm, and take the extra and then invest that in the market. That money would enter the economy, that would enter the banks, and we wouldn't be worrying about taxes. So they basically didn't money print for too long. They tightened the balance sheet for too long, and they didn't lower interest rates for too long, and now there's a liquidity crisis. So all this is just caused by them fucking up. So now they're blaming you guys for paying taxes. That's why they're money printing, because you're going to pay taxes on the 15th. And we're in such a bad state. That's why they also said right there, yeah, hey, Miguel, we're also we've taken the limits off of the overnight repo market. So the banks are so tight right now because everyone's doing so bad right now. Look how expensive things are, that most deposits are kind of not really up for the most part, unless you're in the top echelons of America, right? In terms of the tax class. Oh my God, dude. All these problems caused by them just mismanaging and playing politics. It's fucking crazy. So they're literally blaming you guys for, hey, you guys are paying your taxes, so this is why we got a money print, because we don't have enough money to cover you guys paying taxes, because that'll leave the banking system, because then the government will spend it on horse shit. I've never heard ever in all the time I've listened to the Federal Reserve since 2009, since I've been an 18-year-old to now I'm in my mid-30s, I have not once ever heard them say that, ever. In 16 years that I've been listening to Fed meetings, from Ben Bernanke to Jerome Powell,
one drunk man is more intelligent than 3 women with PhDs.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much.
That's the
absolute insanity, clown world shit, bros. We don't think that we help matters by trying to engage as a public discussion of that. I'll give you a mulligan though.
No, thanks. I don't know if that means I get 3 questions, but
no, just one more.
I guess I wanted to come back to the 1990s question, and like, do you see that as a useful model for thinking about what is happening in the economy right now?
I don't think it rises to that level. So I did think that in 2019, where we cut 3 times, but this is such a unique situation. It's not it's not the 1970s, let's put it that way, but we do have tension between our two goals. And so that's just unique in my time at the Fed. And I think going back a long ways, we haven't had that in our framework. Our framework, as you know, says that when that's the case, then we try to,
Well, I would agree with him here. Like during the 1990s, we had a very strong economy. We didn't owe as much in terms of like debt to GDP ratio. The birthing rate, the birth rate was kind of starting to go down, but it was still moderately okay. It's better than it is today. The economy was really good. The stock market was going up. Main Street was much more alive. The middle class was much more intact during the 90s. So during times they did have to increase it slightly, but if you look at the trajectory of the interest rates from the peak in the 1970s under what's his name? I always forget this dude's name, but basically, like there's a Fed governor that basically, the Fed chairman that increased the rates up to like 19%, and then Alan Greenspan took over, and then he lowered the rates down. So if you look at from the 1980s until basically the crux of the 2008 housing crisis, the rates were trending downwards. But there was periods during the 1990s where they went up for a while and then went back down. And then, of course, like during 9/11, I think they started lowering them down to kind of save the economy, because you had the tech boom bust that happened during 99, and then 2001, or I'm sorry, 2001, you had 9/11. That was another stock market crash there. And then from there, we just were off to the races from 2001 until fucking 2007. It was like glorious. 6 years of up only, dogs. Paul Volcker, thank you, Paul Volcker. Yeah, it was Paul Volcker. He saved the economy, but he did my God, basically we had an unpegging. We basically left the gold backed dollar and went into the petrodollar, but in between, energy prices were so ridiculous that there's complete oil shortages in the United States across the 70s. So inflation just went to such a point that like he cranked it up 1,700%, 1,700 basis points in one shot, and just completely halted and crashes the economy, but completely stopped inflation. And then the inflation started going back down. And then as that time, Alan Greenspan took over, and it's called the Greenspan put. And from the 1980s, this is why the 80s were really, as time were going on, the 1980s, the rates kept coming down. So this is during the time where like PIMCO and a bunch of the other things, like if you owned bonds, you only made, it was like impossible to lose money with bonds unless you were doing really retarded shit with leverage, because the bonds you bought, because the rate will keep coming down. This is why during that time too, that people are like, oh my God, the 70s, you could save money in the bank. Yeah, because during the time, Paul Volcker, you could earn almost 15% at the bank, 20% at the bank, because it was at 17%, 17.08% yield. So you could, even at the worst case, you could leave your money at the bank, earn 15% on your money. Why buy stocks? And then as time went on, if you bought a bond that paid that much 15%, and then over time, as the interest rates went down, you could buy a 20-30 year bond, sell it on the open market, and fucking make a mint off of it, because like Alan Greenspan was lowering the interest rates back down. So when interest rates go down, the price of the bond goes up. But that bond, because it's a contract, right? So if as an example, if I have $1 million back in the $1 million is a lot of money back in the day, right? But $1 million back then at 15%, right? Let's say I locked in a 30-year bond, 15%, which is that's some money right there. You're getting paid 150. Is that correct? Actually, am I actually doing the math on that correct? Yeah, you're getting paid $150,000 a year on $1 million for 30 fucking years. So that's worth a lot of fucking money. And you could sell that bond off as the interest rates go. Let's say the interest rates go back down to 8%. Eventually, that's where during the 80s and 90s, like a lot of people locked in their house for like 8%, 9%, 5% was pretty normal from the 80s transitioning into the 90s for a 30-year mortgage. That bond would be worth a lot of money. So the bond guys were making a fortune, and then they were buying the stock market, and the stock market was going crazy. It wasn't the only reason. Obviously, the U.S. stock market was very strong. America during the 80s was very powerful. Peak Cold War, things were doing good. American jeans, apple pie, America doing good. Birth rate was really good at the time. The contraceptive and women and feminism was starting to take over, but it still hadn't taken its evil roots into the economy just yet. But things were good during the 80s. Coke and blow, baby. Coke and blow. And then, you know, you guys know the story after that, basically. But that is it for the reaction to the Federal Reserve, the FOMC meeting. Hopefully the video isn't so choppy anymore. But now there's a whole lot of information to go out there. So basically we have QE Lite going on right now. It's basically QE. We're having QE right now. From their own admission, they're at least going to do $25 billion until April each month in order to have money to pay for taxes from the system on the 15th. Fucking ridiculous, by the way. But that's the lower end. So they're going to be doing some extra money printing to actually help it out. So it's very likely it could be 40 billion every month. And then maybe during April or May, they lower it down. But then from there, we're in a brand new sort of, we'll have a brand new person head of the Federal Reserve. And I'm betting Trump is going to be a lot more selective of that. So I think we will have at least one more leg up on BTC. It could just be a retest back up to 126. And if that's it, that's it. But if it breaks above, I think 138 is probably the next level I'd look at on BTC personally over the next quarter. This is why me and Charlie set up the Crypto Mindset course and the Cash Out course to be around. Like, we are not going to have, we make sure to cover you guys all November, December, January, and February to make sure during this pivotal pivot and stuff, because we are going to get either the big move for the upside or to the downside, and then we'll know what to do at that point, basically. So this is why we've set everything up for the Citadel and the Crypto Mindset course. And, you know, we've said we still are not, you know, there's going to be no CMC until February. So we're here for you guys for the Crypto Mindset course, for the Citadel, and the Cash Out course. So we're going to make some moves very soon. I have bought some coins. The Citadel knows what I'm buying. I will have a recorded, I think we're going to have a call with you guys very soon. I think over the weekend. I want to give you guys a little bit of my schedule. I'm going to be doing a stream with Rolo, believe on Saturday. We're going to be going over everything that's happening in the crypto, as well as like what's happening with women, you know, apparently women in crypto, and also your significant other on social media. Terrible idea. We're going to be doing Moon Gang live from Las Vegas in the studio and stuff with Charlie and stuff. Charlie's back in the driver's seat. Yeah, Charlie's back. It's really nice to have him back. I think Charlie's going to have a really cool Friday stream. His AMA is going to be really nice. He goes over a lot. He charts a lot of coins on Friday, so don't forget to check out his Friday stream. My next stream will be, I might actually do one tomorrow, actually. If I'm not too under the weather, I'll do one tomorrow. If not, my next streams will be Saturday and Friday, but very likely I'll do one tomorrow because I will be doing some stuff though. But hopefully, I'm feeling a lot better right now. But I'm also hopped up on nicotine and Mucinex and fucking Celsius and all kinds of other shit too as well. And I'm gonna be taking some tea right now and some all kinds of recommendations and stuff like that. And then BPC 157 and TP 500 and everything else like that. So if you guys would like a stream tomorrow, let me know in the chat. Type one in the chat. If you want me to stream tomorrow, I will try my best to stream tomorrow. But I am planning on doing some sort of webinar this weekend for the Citadel and the Crypto Mindset course. And then the following week, we're going to have some sauce for the guys in the Cash Out course. So it's going to be really, really, really cool, you guys. I can't wait to do all this stuff for you guys. We're going to get, we're back. You know, Charlie back from vacation. It's time to go full steam ahead. We got nonstop content. I might even do a little Christmas stream for you guys. It'd be really cool to do a Christmas stream. And I'll have a couple of eggnogs and stuff like that. And then, of course, I will try to do a New Year's stream as well. But we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff to do, you guys. I'm super proud of the work we've done here at the Crypto Mindset course and stuff, and the Citadel and all the guys we're helping out. But please join up to the Citadel, you guys. We're going to be launching a new group within the Citadel, a new group, a new chat, a more degenerate chat, the Meme Coin Alpha group. It's basically a chat just for more risky plays and stuff like just because people want to talk about that. And we'll keep more news and general questions in the main chat and more degenerate stuff in the secondary chat. It's all included within the regular. If you pay the regular, $9.98 for the Citadel, it's all included in that. So there's no extra fee or anything like that. But we're just adding more and more alpha and more basically features for people in the Citadel. So I wanted to expand out more services and more things that you get for the Citadel. So every month that you're in the Citadel, it is $50 off the next Crypto Mindset course. If you join the Citadel today, by the time the next Crypto Mindset course goes live, you'll get $150 off the next Crypto Mindset course. That's pretty good. you guys, and you get the Citadel access. I consistently do unrecorded AMA calls. I will be doing some recorded calls, but on the recorded calls, I'm a little less degenerate. a little less degenerate. But people, when on the unrecorded calls, people ask me pretty crazy stuff, and I try to answer as best I can. Obviously, not financial advice, but or health advice or anything like that. But I talk about everything from the red pill to peptides to anything like looks maxing for the most part, and and crypto. So as well as some people ask me some really interesting questions about life and family. So some family stuff, as well as how to handle family members. So I always get a lot of DMs like that, but I usually give them a phone or a call or something like that. Hey, what's going on and stuff like that. So I try to be like the big brother to everybody in the group as much as I can. So I love you guys, man. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. I will let you guys know very soon tomorrow and stuff if I do a stream. I think I probably will do a stream tomorrow, but if I am really sick, then my next stream will be on Friday, then Saturday, and then of course Moon Gang will be on my channel at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So with that, man, thank you so much. Join the Citadel, ascend, leave poverty behind. Peace.